Welcome to today's live. We're going to talk about 3 signs that your boss is really your biggest career obstacle. So, this came out of a conversation I had last week with a fabulous woman leader, very talented and also very ambitious, and was ready to take that next step. Except she didn't know quite how to go about it, and also was finding herself really confronted with her boss saying like, hey, you're getting, like, we recognize your effort, we see what you're doing, and yet that wasn't translating into conversations about a next level role. It wasn't translating into any kind of salary conversations, nothing. It was just simply like, hey, we recognize you for your effort, which may sound like a compliment, but I'm going to share 3 reasons or 3 signs why today that isn't actually the case. And it's actually a sign of your boss essentially being the obstacle to that next career step. If this is the first time you are here joining me live, welcome. It's lovely to have you. I'm Kim Reimakers, and I am an ICF accredited executive coach, and I have helped over 100 plus women in senior leadership with their leadership, their team performance, as well as managing their careers upwards. And recently, one of my clients even got a 6-figure salary raise. So she is off and in a new senior role with an incredible raise on top of that as well. All right. So let's dive into this topic today, because one of these things that I see just happening too often, and if this is happening to you, just please drop a heart or drop a yes in the comments, where you have really great big ambitions. You're like, hey, I'm kind of like out of this role, has become too routine, and you see opportunities that you want to grow into the future. Except it doesn't seem to be happening. Now, as I shared, this woman that I was speaking to last week, I thought like, oh, these are so typical signs that keep happening. The first one is just simply everything grounds to a halt when she goes on holidays. And this might happen to you too. You go on holidays and you come back and you're getting comments like, oh my God, like they really, your boss really can't manage it without you. Like he or she, let's keep it neutral there. They need you here. And then things start to run smoothly, right? And you might even get the compliment of like, oh, I didn't even realize how much you were doing. I'm so glad you're back. Sounds like a fantastic compliment, except let's translate that into actual corporate speak means like, hey, I need you to stay exactly where you are, because exactly where you are suits me the best. It reflects best on me if I have you in this spot, because then everything's under control. But if they were to promote you, all of a sudden it means, oh God, they have to figure it out themselves, or they have to take the effort of finding somebody else to do that role. And that is not really something a lot of managers necessarily want to have to deal with, or bosses want to have to deal with. So the first sign that your boss is and could be an obstacle when it comes to that next step in your career is simply the fact that everything falls apart when you go on holidays. And I'm not saying that your team shouldn't have picked it up. Yes, probably your team should have picked up some things. And that still can mean there are aspects of your role that your boss takes over while you're on holidays, and it just kind of fell apart. All right. Number 2, this is a good one to watch out for. And this also happens when you're having a toxic boss, but let's just do this specifically for when, as a signal for when you find your boss is the one blocking your career or is an actual obstacle. And that is that they don't include you in meetings that directly impact your work. So for example, and that's what this leader was sharing with me as well. She's like, I have these projects that are running. They're not aware of all the ins and the outs, and there's decisions that need to be made, but I need to provide the information to my boss, and they will take it into the meeting and have that conversation. It would make things so much easier if I'm in that conversation myself, because when I'm in that conversation, then I can provide extra context. I can provide extra analysis. I can answer the questions rather than it taking like 3, 4, or 5 times longer. But here's the thing. they don't want you in that meeting, because as long as they're the ones controlling the narrative, they can also be the pipeline as to how things flow in and what comes back to you. Plus, they get to take credit for things that go well or shift blame. And I'm not saying that this happened necessarily in that circumstance, but just in general, they can also deflect when it's not going quite as well as they want to, and reflect to others. And I know this happened so often, well, not so often, but it's happened a couple times in my career. And in one case, I had to give updates on a project. First off, I'll say I took off over this project from another project leader, and he gave brilliant updates. Everything was like going really well. Well, when I started digging into the surface, nothing had been done. All the results had been like hot air. So me, being my honest self, decided this is the state of this is the state of the project at the moment, not realizing that that was not going to reflect badly on that project leader who had created the situation, but rather it made me look incompetent, because all of a sudden I was not delivering the results that the previous project manager had said were going on. So in managing that and making sure that I was getting was giving better updates, but also creating some results in that, I know I was reporting up, but I wasn't allowed to report out across the organization, and any decisions had to go through one central point with the stakeholder, and they were reporting it out. Now, to my great surprise, when I was listening in on because this was a large public company, and all of a sudden one of my projects came up as a conversation with the board and the CEO, and I was like, oh yeah, this project is running right on time, everything's going well. And I just was flabbergasted. But here's why: because I wasn't allowed to be in any of the rooms to have this conversation. So the information that got filtered upwards was only the positive information that would reflect well on my manager and on the stakeholder, but wasn't necessarily grounded in reality. So that was, looking back, I can say, oh man, I should have paid more attention to that. And this is one of those signs that I see so many women experiencing right now when they find themselves in a problem of I don't know how to get myself into the next role, when I'm not even in the meetings that are discussing the things that pertain to me. Well, that could be a sign, one of those signs that your boss is actually actively, or maybe not on his, they don't think they're actively doing it, but that is actively a way of blocking your career progression. Now I'm going to get into step number 3. And before I do that, I also want to invite you, because in the next coming weeks, I am going to be doing a sprint around managing up and engineering your recognition, engineering your influence, and engineering your career momentum. And that is going to be a 4-week sprint. And if that is something that you're interested in, because that is going to be all about, hey, how do I talk and make sure that I manage upwards in such a way that I get recognition for the results and achievements that I get, but also positioning myself for my next career move. And this is a fantastic time, because we're coming up for a lot of organizations into performance review time. So you don't want to wait until you've had your performance review. You want to get in on this before you've had your performance review. Now, if that's something that you're interested in, let's have a conversation on that. What we'll do is, if you can comment the word or DM me the word manage, then I will reach out and we'll set up a time and have a conversation, because I really want to make sure that this is a good fit for you, but also personalize it so that you know what your path forward is. All right, let's go into the number 3, the third sign that your boss is really being an obstacle when it comes to your career. And that is if you are being limited in who you can connect with. So again, going back to this conversation, there were so many red flags in this conversation around that I could see for this woman leader. One of them was well, we're discouraged from networking. We're discouraged from talking to others. Well, guess what that does? That again isolates you. When you're discouraged from talking to other people, it leads to your manager and your boss being the person that funnels what information gets seen into the organization. Not only that, it also makes you're leaving the responsibility for your reputation, how you're perceived throughout the organization, your personal brand, essentially your professional brand at work, to that one individual. So if you are being actively discouraged or like, oh, just like let me talk to them. I've got a good relationship with them. Hmm. Have your ask, like, have a thought behind it, thinking like, is that really true? Or am I able to, for myself, make those connections, start reaching out, building bridges and relationships with other leaders and colleagues and other senior leaders within your organization, so that you don't have just one single pathway and one single, essentially, channel that is communicating about what you're doing, what your results are, what you're achieving, etc. Because again, that's going to be filtered by what's in it for your boss and what is most advantageous for them. So if you've experienced any of these, I'd again drop a heart or drop a thumbs up, yes, in the comments, because I would love to know that. And if you are wanting some help with this, I have some resources that can definitely help you. So let me know in the comments or send me a DM with a question. And I always go in there and I answer all these questions back for you. And when I have a resource that is really going to help you, I will share that. For example, one resource, if you are already interested right now, is DM me the word checklist or comment the word checklist. And I'm going to share with you my free Boardroom Whisper checklist guide, which shares how do you start increasing your influence as well as gaining the recognition for all the things that you're already doing really well. And this is in a way that you can use. I share exact phrases and scripts for you, how you can turn what you're already doing and achieving into recognition and, and influence within meeting environments, with your bosses and within your leaders. So if you're going like, Kim, I don't even know what to say or where to start, that is a great first step, is to grab the checklist. So you can comment the word checklist. And again, I am going to be opening up a few spots this month for a sprint, which is going to be about managing up, engineering your recognition, influence, and your career momentum. And I'm looking for 3 or 4 women who are ready right now to step in and do that. And if you're interested in that, comment the word manage and I will reach out and we will set up a time to have a conversation around what does that look like? Because I want to make sure that as you're going into your performance review season and we're heading into a new year, that you're not going to miss the boat again and watch somebody else get promoted ahead of you. Watch somebody else walk away with a great salary raise while you're being told, hey, you know what? I see the effort you're doing a great job, but then not being ready for all of a sudden still being not strategic enough, not ready for that next leadership role. So if you're interested in that, then comment the word manage or DM me the word manage and let's have a conversation. All right. Let me know if there's any one of these 3 signs that you're experiencing right now. You're like, oh, I hadn't realized that. I would love to hear from you. Let's just keep watching. So if you've got, I've got lots of content. If you've got questions, I can always refer you to one of those other pieces of content and other videos and trainings that I do. And if you haven't got it yet, grab the checklist, because that is a great first step in a resource in starting to get yourself recognition and starting to engineer the visibility for yourself. All right. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk to you again next time.